Namaste, everybody. I'm going to continue with the I Am Discourses because we're a good way through this book. I mean, we're not far off finishing it. Let's continue from Discourse 22. Now I'm finally feeling better. God, it's taken me 48 hours to recover, but let's just see how this goes. So we got to the benediction, and this is part 3, Discourse 22. To continue, benediction. Out of the fullness of our hearts, O mighty presence, we give praise and thanks for thy love, wisdom, and power. We give praise and thanks for the mighty rays that have gone out to each student today. We give thanks for the intensity of this focus that quickens the assurance within the students of the truth of their mighty presence of the I Am, which is the true self. Strengthen them, each one, with that firm determination to hold on to that one presence, which is all freedom, all perfection, eternal youth and beauty. Now there's some footnotes here, and I'm going to read them because they're usually quite interesting. Question: is the god Meru large of stature? Answer: the god Meru is about 7 feet and of the most wonderful proportion. The god Himalaya is about 7 feet 2 inches. The god Tabor is about 8 feet. He comes from a very, very ancient race of people. That's fascinating. So the god is, well, of course, when they say God, it really means an ascended master, part of the ascended host. But in the Bible, they call ones like this God, like they call Yahweh God. Although Yahweh is just an aspect of the source, the same as you and I are, albeit a much more advanced, higher density consciousness and a higher dimensional aspect. Well, these are 5th density consciousness ascended masters. So they get called gods, or they used to get called gods in those days. And, you know, back in the ancient Egyptian days, they called them gods. The Hindus called them gods. Anyways, let's continue with the I Am Discourses, and we're on Discourse 23. If I can possibly hold this. Okay. Discourse 23, December the 19th, 1932. Christmas preparation. Saint Germain. Invocation. Thou mighty infinite intelligence, thou who dost have power over all things. We welcome thy all-pervading presence, thou all-pervading life, the animating principle of every human being. We give thanks that I am the great and mighty presence, that I am anchored in the heart of every one of God's children, fulfilling the perfect plan, in spite of all resistance of the outer activity of the mind. We give praise and thanks that the conscious direction of thy mighty energy is sufficient by those of understanding to bless and to prevail with thy wondrous light and intelligence everywhere. I bring you greetings from the great host, and personally from Jesus, who will again speak to you over his ray today. The Discourse by Jesus. In the fullness of my love, I come to you again today over the great light and sound ray, this time to direct consciously the healing ray to every one of the students. This ray I will sustain for 2 weeks every day, that they may have the radiance of the healing power. In my ministry to mankind among the hills of Judea, I stirred the latent memory within the inner records of mankind, and its work is still going on today. I wish the students to understand that preceding all conscious healing upon my part, within my own mind, I was always conscious that I am the only healing presence, and as that unlimited I Am presence, I had the right, the power, and the ability through that presence to command all outer activity of the mind to be silent and obey its command. Thus, when I spoke to individuals, I spoke with the authority of the I Am presence, which I recognized as the only intelligence and power acting or that could act. I was conscious of the outer activity of the minds of those of humanity about me. But as I said to you before, It was only when I began using the I am radiance. Sorry, I'll start that again. It was only when I began using I am the resurrection and the life that the fullness of my mission and how it was to be fulfilled was entirely revealed. This is the particular point I wish to stress with the students today, that within each one of them is the same mighty I am presence, which I used to accomplish the perfection of that mighty presence. This seemed to humanity that at the time the performing of miracles. However, I assure you, it was but consciously setting into action and using cosmic laws that are ever about you to be set into activity through the conscious direction. The mistake that students make, and which delays their achievement, is the feeling that they are acting a falsehood in declaring the perfection they do not yet see manifest in the appearance or activity. I tell you sincerely from my own experience that we must acknowledge the one presence, intelligence, and power, then claim it as our own in our every thought and activity. It is the only way this mighty perfection can be brought into the outer appearance and the fullness of your use. Because that perfection has not yet appeared, seemingly should not deter you from applying and claiming perfection as your own. For anyone with average intelligence has but to stop and think that the energy, the life principle which he or she is using is God, the mighty I am presence. Therefore, its presence, power, and energy is always self-sustaining. In the claiming of this mighty presence and activity, you consciously set it into action in your life, home, world, and affairs. Today, as in the time of my attainment, the financial struggle seems to be most weighing, and yet with the reach of your conscious manipulation and direction of the mighty energy, substance, and opulence about you, you have everything within with which to draw you to that wondrous, omnipresent opulence of God. When you say, I am, you are stirring that into action to fulfill your conscious demand. One of the first and mightiest things that became clear in my consciousness was my ability, everyone's ability, to qualify this energy consciously directed with whatever the seeming need demand. Thus the energy may produce for your use gold, silver, money, food, clothing, means of conveyance, or whatever the consciousness demand is. All this you must claim with determined conscious effort, which knows that in the conscious demand it is the I am presence speaking and acting. Therefore, it has all power and authority to clothe whatever the demand is with its kind. In the consciousness that you are the I am presence acting at all times, you then must know that you are that moment of recognition, an invincible magnet of attraction which causes every activity of the universe to rush to you to fulfill the demand. The only reason it does not seem to be so is because somewhere in your consciousness there is a feeling of uncertainty, either of your ability or your authority or the omnipresence of it to act. But I assure you, as one having attained and having gone through the complete process of attaining, that it is a pleasure, the privilege of myself and others to place before you these simple laws, yet mighty and invincible in their activity, which will give you freedom and domain over all things that seem to be such a mountain of obstruction in your way. As you continue to accept and use these laws in your activity, you will find that you are attaining dominion, not only over the one element, but over the four elements, earth, water, air, and fire. I'm being shown that this is the law of vibration, the law of attraction, and the law of action. It's also the law of receiving. because you have to be in the receiving mode. And Jesus is coming through now, actually. Yeshua is his true name, he says. And did I not tell you numerous times, even in your canonized Bible, for surely you shall do greater things than I. You say my things that I do are great, but I say this to you, you will do greater things than I, because I have gone to the Father. Now it's your turn. You can manifest anything you desire if you only believe and receive using the laws that we are teaching. Okay, I didn't expect that to happen, but that's quite rare. Okay, to continue. When you have become conscious of the flame of your divinity, you are acting from the highest of the four elements, which is fire and the true activity of spirit. Oh, the channeling today was about fire, yeah, and the kiln and the potter's clay, yeah, right. Oh, okay. As the conscious activity is to the unconscious, so is the conscious use of the flame to the recognition of the light. The natural element of your soul is the flame, accounting for the ancient fire and sun worship. When one becomes conscious that he can use and direct this consuming flame, he has entered into the mighty power. Okay, and we're coming to 11 minutes 33. I'm going to stop there. Namaste.